67 cultural districts
67 cultural
as of
districts
today
in Louisiana.
in Louisiana, which is a great thing. Some are big cultural districts, some are teeny tiny, just several little blocks. The downtown commercial cultural district was established in 2008, and actually the Downtown Development Authority put that packet of information together and then got it signed by Mayor Glover, who was very excited about having a cultural district and the opportunity for a cultural district in downtown. SHRAC obviously was a partner in gathering together all the information about artists, and we were established in late 2008. And then here, 2012, I believe, or maybe 2011, the Highland Cultural District came along. And I do the reports each year for both of those cultural districts. So those of you like Catherine, like Sue, Lynn, anybody who does any events in those cultural districts, please send me information, because that goes into those reports that I have to send in to keep our cultural districts in good standing. And it's like the Spanish Inquisition. I'm not kidding. Last Christmas, I was working on reports and feeling very sad for myself, very painful. What you're going to start with is I'd like to just very quickly have people, everybody introduce him or herself, name, and just what you do. And there's a sign-in sheet, so please sign in with all that information. So we'll start with you.
I'm Paul King, function member index drums, but I build hand drums.
Cool.
Which are sort of hard.
Yes.
Sure. Hold on, metal sculpture.
I'm making sure that
I'm Rod Tower, I like to scratch. I do scratch board. A scratch board, it's a chalkboard covered with black ink. I scratch through the surface, it becomes a reverse painting.
I'm James Marks, and I make wire sculpture.
Gaye Hamilton, and I manage the cultural district program.
I'm Catherine Usher, and I'm interested in the tax information for the new shirts that we're doing. Labor Art Sweat, and we're overprinting on local community shirts and doing things that say think locally, art locally, local musicians are your neighbors, and local artists are your neighbors. It's our product right now.
I'm Lynn Laird, and I'm a scrimshaw artist. I etch in ivory and bone and Korean, do a lot of custom knife and gun work. And I'm interested in, particularly in this, because I'm considering registering my business here in downtown Shreveport, and some of this will make a difference as to whether I do that or do it in Bossier.
Susan Forbury, I create wearable art.
Sue Stella, I make jewelry, I paint, and I write.
Maggie Davison, I'm a painter, and I teach her at the art room.
Ben Moss, I'm a painter and digital media artist.
Fred Down Ford, I do handcrafted rosary bracelets and icons.
I'm Cheryl Dunford from Natchitoches, and I'm here in two capacities actually. I'm an artist. I do mosaics, I do calligraphy, I do some metal sculpture that says some of my pieces. And I'm also the chairman for the 30th craft show in Natchitoches, so I'm here to learn
Very good show.
two sides, thank you. Two sides of the fence.
I'm Chris Moore, still most of the job. Ironwork.
I'm Liz Williams, the Downtown Development Authority, and we just had the artists come in right here on the corner of the table.
Hi.
Who's your name?
Oh, I'm Gary Johnson, the Texas Advocate Student.
Yeah, very good. And Vicki.
I'm Vicki Marshall, the Arts Resource Director, with Shreveport Regional Arts Council, and I'm a musician.
Very good. It's very awesome. So the first thing I'd like to do is just turn the floor over to Gaye and have her just very briefly fill you in on some things that may be either confusing or challenging. Whenever the Louisiana legislature writes an ordinance, it is rarely clear as a bell. There's always room for interpretation, there's room for debate. One of the issues that is debatable in the way the ordinance is written is how the different cultural districts apply it. In East Baton Rouge Parish, for example, they only allow brick and mortar stores to be sales tax exempt. Other cultural districts allow things like farmers market, Maker's Fair, Rebel. We happen to be one of the cultural districts that allows sales tax exemptions at open air markets. We do not anticipate that to change. But that is one of the things that is being talked about in the state because of the way the ordinance was written. You may be saying, well, why don't you go and get that ordinance rewritten? There's a challenge with that, because if any of you followed the Louisiana legislature this past session, you know that it was all about money. There wasn't nearly enough of it. And the legislature was looking at ways to take back exemptions that they had already given. So the belief was that you didn't want to put the red flag in front of the bull. So a decision was made, I think, and it was a very wise decision to lay low, to allow the legislature to go through its motions this year, and to come back and revisit this at a later time when perhaps the state's in a better fiscal situation. There is always the possibility that when you go to the legislature and ask for anything, instead of getting what you want, they actually take something away from you. So that was kind of the situation that everybody found themselves in this year. So that's why it's not as simple as, why don't we just, get it written better? There's always that challenge. Okay?
Very, very true. Yeah, there was some language in that bill that a couple of parishes took issue with and so have made their own ruling on how to implement what was written in the law. But what the law says is that sales of original works of visual art are exempt from state and local tax when sold within the boundaries when sold in an established location within the boundaries of a cultural district. So we've tried to clarify what we mean by established by allowing, because East Baton Rouge and subsequently St. Tammany, they have since taken up that same policy. They have an option of defining what is established within their district. So in the case of Caddo Parish or in Shreveport, both the downtown and the Highland districts, they are saying that the Maker's Fair, the Revel, the Highland Market, the Farmers Market are established events within their districts, and so they do consider them qualified for the sales tax exemption. So, what we really want to do is to make it clear what the responsibilities. It is a privilege. It's a benefit to your customers primarily. Sometimes it can close the sale. Oh, hello. Hey, so nice to see you.
Welcome, and thanks for coming back.
That was a So what we want to do is to make sure that you know what the procedures are. In order to take advantage of this sales tax exemption that benefits you and your customers, there is some paperwork. It's pretty straightforward. I think what we will probably spend most of our time talking about is the definition of art and what qualifies and what doesn't. Some of you know that everything that you make would qualify as an original work of visual art, but there are other people that some things do and some things don't, and then there are others that what you do simply might not qualify. So we'll try to, I'll try to be available to answer those questions, and if I get hit with something that I cannot answer, I have a team of art experts that I'll have to take it back to, and I do that from time to time. So in addition to that, there's a form that needs to be completed. I think we passed out information around there, and there's a certificate of exemption that should be completed for each work of visual art that qualifies for sale. The way that most parishes have established that is that you do not, you complete, it's a voucher, you complete it for each sale, but you don't have to turn it in when you report your tax. Let me go back. I'm kind of doing this cart before the horse. Let's talk too about the definition and the process. You determine whether your works of art qualify, and then you familiarize yourself with the document, the certificate of exemption, and you report your sales the way you would normally do for any business. And if you are at a market or a fair or festival, they usually have a method to collect or to report and collect the tax at that event. So what you, on the certificate of exemption, it asks for who bought the item, what the item is, what its value was, where it was sold, and who's the seller. The purpose, and that exemption certificate was developed by the State Revenue Department. It is almost identical to every other tax exemption program that they administer. It's got the same information on it, so it wasn't something that we could pick or choose what to make it easier for us. It was something that the Revenue Department developed. However, because it is a voucher, it is basically the art seller saying this item qualifies for tax exempt sale under the definition for this program. So there's a little leeway in how you can, the way the form is designed, and I'm sure you're all looking at it, and I'm not looking at it. Thank you. The bottom part of the form is simply the signature, but this section is the art seller. And to make this easier for yourself, you can fill that out one time and duplicate it and make copies of it. The middle section is about the item, what it is. The description that fields are fairly lengthy. If you have an inventory system and you know that that was item number 109, you can simply put item 109 because you can describe that item if you need to based on your inventory list. But you do need to indicate when it was sold, and then for the purchaser, a lot of times you can just put the piece of paper in front of your customer and say, if you complete the top part of this, you will not have to pay sales tax, and they will be happy to do it. If it is at an event where that's a burden, where you don't have time to do it, or where
It's
it's
like a
cash sale.
you've got a bunch of people waiting to check out.
Yeah.
She's come up with an easy way.
And if it's a cash sale, sometimes people don't want to tell you who they are. So you just put customer at maker's square, and that would be sufficient. As I said, what this really is it is a legal document. I mean, and it is required by the Revenue Department and by our office, but it's more a statement of authenticity that you are vouching for the fact that that was a legally tax exempt. And I do have, because of markets and high volume, low cost, high volume items where it becomes a real drag to complete a form for each one, we often say, or people will tell me, I just don't have time to do that. And I say, well, then at the end of the day, go through your receipts or whatever other documentation you've got to have some sort of record of your sale if you're conducting business and collecting income. So you can go back and recreate these at the end of the day or at the end of the week or at the end of the month. If you're in Baton Rouge, you have to turn this in with your sales tax report. I think that is the only parish. There are two other parishes that say they do it, but they don't really do it. But in Baton Rouge, you've got to turn this in with your sales tax report.
So here they just
And here, you just hang on to it. You just keep it.
In case
In
you're auditing.
Orleans Parish, I did a walk through in Orleans Parish at the galleries just to be sure that everybody knew about what was going on. And they would pull out these fat folders under the desk. Oh yeah, you need these? And they'd have a stack of them, where they just keep them. And as a matter of fact, I just got a ruling from the Revenue Department this week because a couple of the big art sellers that have lots and lots of artists that they represent, and they've been keeping these papers and they don't have room to keep them, and so you have to keep it for, well, I'm saying 4 years. What the lady told me was 3 years beginning on on December 31st from the year that the sale occurred. So that's, isn't that 4 years? I think to be safe, I think it's 4 years. So you do need to keep those records in case of an audit. So far, I don't know of any audits. So, I mean, they're bound to happen. The more that the income, the more deductions are claimed, the more exemptions are claimed, you know, there's liable to be some tax administrators that get vigilant and decide to audit. But there's an alternative that makes it a little bit easier because so many people call. Yeah, I don't know if I have enough of these.
Maybe just kind of show them around the table. And this is the
It's just a
alternative.
short form. It asks the same thing. It asks for the seller, the description of the item, the amount of the item, the date sold, and who bought it. And it's something that you can keep as a daily record of what's going on. And then should you need to go back, if you are audited, you could use those forms to go back and complete a sales tax exemption form for each item.
And we'll also have this on our website, and we'll send it to Shrek, and so we'll put it out here so everybody can get it.
What do you have to have? We had instances of tax collectors bullying artists at markets. What must you have so they will leave you alone that particular day?
Well, if they are there to collect tax and you don't owe tax, you should have a form and say, I'm exempt, I'm documenting my tax exempt sales, and this is how I'm doing it. As a matter of fact, we just had another meeting with some of the organizers, promoters of fairs and festivals, and the tax administrators were there, and they said, if they have paperwork,
We'll just walk away.
we just walk away.
Right.
We know that they're documenting their tax exempt sales, and we just let them do it.
Well, that's not quite how it really works. I mean, at the last Maker's Fair, they bullied me and refused to go away until I gave them money. And I did have papers, and I always pay my taxes. I keep records in the whole bit. I mean,
This is not.
Yeah, we actually brought that up to
She would not
Gail.
go my booth until I paid, there's a copy of
Right.
the check.
Was that at Maker's Fair?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
2 o'clock.
And I was told that cattle had up there on the roof.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We got, so Monday after Maker's Fair, I called them.
Yes.
No, Maker's Fair is different.
you lose customers when they're standing in front of your table and the customers can't get there because there's somebody who won't go away demanding money.
And we're not, of course, we weren't there, we're not really sure what's happened, and I think that Gail Howell was not there and is not really sure what happened. She said that at that
That's the
event,
ladies who.
They had a new-
We got her car.
They had a new
they had
collector.
a
There's a
field
new,
of-
short lady.
This is how.
Yeah, that lady.
What's her
She's
name?
not too confused, she's been there for a couple of years.
That's her.
She would not leave my booth.
Oh, yeah, this is the person. Yeah, this is the new person.
I mean, she
Why
was
did they
very
collect-
consistent.
And she said that cattle, I said, and I had just talked to you about something else about 2 weeks before. I said, no, you know, the local and state taxes were exempt, and she could see my mosaics and paintings and everything I had. And she told me that cattle made up their own rules.
Oh, that's.
Cattle didn't have to
Cattle
follow, I
make-
said,
Cattle
what?
does not have to follow state guidelines.
Herds,
They
yeah.
get to make up their own rules.
Well,
That's not,
So can I get my money back?
now here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, because I know no tax in the memo line.
Here's,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
from my bank statement.
Well, my question about that is, even if you owe taxes, if you needed to pay taxes,
right.
why would they put taxes before the end of the event?
Well, and they said that it's sort of an honor system.
It's an honor system.
That they would like for you to just estimate based on what you sold, what you think your total is gonna be, or then make it up at the end.
You know,
But
some
then I don't
shows
know,
you
I don't
make
understand.
$100, others will
Yeah.
make 1,500.
Let's,
Yeah, it's impossible.
I know.
But I-
We spoke to Gail, and she's the head of the office, and we actually talked to her about the specific allegations that we had heard about the Maker's Fair. And honestly, that was the only one that we had ever heard that had a situation like this.
I heard that at Jazz Fest.
And she said that this particular person was new, was overly aggressive, which I think we can all say that that is true. And that she was very sorry that that had happened, that that should not have happened. And she stated that it would not come back again. So we're going to hold her to that. Both Gaye and I are going to contact her tomorrow with these specific, with the name, with, you know, the issues that you're bringing up, and we'll see if she has any additional information. The thing that the different markets.
Standard procedure is that they come to the market and provide a sheet of paper saying.
And this is supposed to be provided ahead of time.
Right.
So the Makers Fair, the Jazz Fest, you know, everybody, the Rebel, wherever you are, you should get these ahead of time.
Yes, that's what I get another
With
stage
the envelope.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it will say on here that they will be coming by at 1 o'clock. And if they come by and you go, hey, I'm exempt, they should keep going.
Right. And if you want to, you know, you could say, sign your name and say, let's say original art.
Or
And you should have
tax
a
number.
form, or just like show right between records.
Right, exactly.
Are there situations where you think this is not gonna suffice?
Are you talking about this?
Yeah.
This is still a problem. Are we supposed to get customer's name and address for
Not
every
necessarily.
$5
If you,
quote that I get?
this is what my advice to people who, I mean, I developed that a couple of years ago for people who call with the same concerns. I can't keep up, I can't be filling out that paper and make my customers happy too. So, if you don't know the customer, just all you have to do is write customer at Maker's Fair.
I'll do that.
Yeah, you don't have to have your name.
Wouldn't it be great though to have your name and their
Well,
email address?
That
So
would
you
be
can-
wonderful. Oh, I would love that.
And
I would love
the
to
email,
let them know
is
we
not
have
accessible.
that
If I
promotion,
were,
but it's much.
if I were you, if I were an artist who wanted to have a mailing list of my customers, I would add, when I duplicate those, I would add email. And because this one, the revenue department didn't care about your email, but I would want that too. And then you can, you can follow up with them, you can say, if you like it, by the way, I've got some new, or I'll be at such and such.
No, it's like she was
Start a
saying,
mailing list right now.
Right.
if you know how crowded Maker's Fair is, you can probably walk. It's a great show. And if you're there and you've got, someone waiting to pay you, and you've got 4 people waiting in line,
You can't.
and that really happens.
And that's a good thing. That's
I
what,
would
that's
definitely
what
sign
we
a list
want.
there though for people who are just waiting to pay you so they can sign in if they like the card. But that's why she's saying, just put customer 1, customer 2, customer 3. At the end of the day, you should know what they bought and how much they paid for it. So that would be the easy way to get out of that.
Right.
And I mean, it really, folks, it's entirely up to you if you want to take advantage of this. If you don't want to claim a sales tax exemption, you have to. We're not beating you over the head for it. I mean,
I didn't think it's allowed by law. I thought if you were in the district and you were selling original art, you had to comply.
Well,
That's what I read.
The
Or just look
law,
at
the law
tax.
says shall, but no one is going to force an artist to
Okay.
But it's sales tax.
to not.
no, they won't force you.
So that was my question, it's like,
No, that's.
and I'm embarrassed to say, I don't know what the sales tax is, I'm sure you were actually, I paid it,
It's 4.6%,
Yeah.
but
plus 4%, it's actually 8.6.
if it's not worth it dollar-wise on an item,
Yeah.
and it slows them down, and we're talking
Yeah.
cents, if we're
Exactly.
talking
Don't mess
amount,
with it.
you get this set of hundreds, you get it set to, a penny, we're talking dollars.
And really, why it was established was initially for those higher priced pieces of art, hoping to.
Incentives.
But
Well, and
we want people to take advantage if they wish.
Don't.
If they wish.
a lot, I think prior to the sales tax exemption, many artists would just price their item to include tax and then pay it on the side. I mean,
That's what I did. I got mine.
you round it up and then just cover it, rather than trying to calculate it for each sale too. So, if that's the way you operate, you make more on each item if you go ahead and document the sale. And
So these we hold on to in the event of an audit. We don't actually give these to
You
the
do
tax
not have to
collector.
submit that, but you should submit a sales tax report for each, for each event, for each month. I'm assuming that most of you have businesses where your only outlet is not at our markets. And so you are familiar with these, the sales tax report, a parish sales tax report?
Unless you have tax numbers, you don't get that.
Some of us only are markets.
So you all just
Most
pay
of this.
No, I pretty much, most of these people don't have
Artists
tax
on
parish
it.
tax ID.
Yeah.
And every parish is different.
There's
one
every
parish
form-
that you discount what you pay before a certain date.
Yeah, every form is, every parish has its own, this is the Caddo Parish form. They're all similar. They may have different columns or headings, but they've kind of standardized them so that you put your gross sales at the top line, and then in this section, line 8, 9, or 10, you indicate original art in Highland Cultural District, $500, subtract from $500, 0. That's what you owe. So you are supposed to file these reports regardless of where you, or of where you do
Okay,
business.
that's local.
This is
That's
fair.
cat.
And then
Okay.
there is a state form as well. It used to be red, they have a new one now.
You got your name.
It's great.
I already stated that.
Yeah, it looks like this. It looks like this. You know, you're familiar with this one?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the very,
Oh, yeah.
the red boxes.
And this used to be red, but they have a new version. This one is 713. It's brand new and it's not red anymore. To disappoint you.
Do we have state, do we have parish, do we have city taxes?
The parish collects the city.
Okay, so that's all.
So that's what we would send into the
They
state.
all done that.
But keep these as our documentation.
Correct.
They are giving you something that you've got to give them.
So small business, I mean, that's more we feel. Sometimes you send $2, that's more paperwork than.
And it may not, again, we understand it may not be worth it to you.
So you said on line 8, 9, and 10, you put original art in Highland Cultural District or whatever, right? And then you put how much it was. And then on number 11, under allowable deductions, is that where you subtract out that entire amount?
Right. The line 11 is the difference between, no. Well, line 11 is if you had more things, if you had more deductions. You would total all of your deductions on line 11, and line 12 is the difference between gross and what your total deductions are.
Okay, so line 8 would be all the original art that I
Correct.
sold. And then you subtract it out from my total sales, which would be up there at number like 1 or something.
Right, so you only need to fill out line 1, line 8, and line 12.
Line 1, line 8, and line 12.
Well, 11 is actually includes, it is a subtotal. Line 11 is the, yeah.
You know, it looks daunting, but it's one of those things, after you've done it a couple of times,
Yeah.
it's probably going to get a lot easier. But I mean, you look at these and think, why am I even messing with it? And truly, if you're just selling a few dollars here, a few dollars there, maybe you're done. But if you're selling a substantial amount, it's,
But are you confused about these technicalities? Because at the mega store, when you give out those packages and you go send in your little check to the state, $10 or something, then they came around and said, well, hey, you have to fill out a form with us and get you a number from the state of Louisiana. So I fill out the form and they assign me a number. So now when I send a check to them, I have to put that number, not my social. And then I'm looking at parish paperwork, and I don't know whether they put that state number or not. Like, I don't remember filling out something for the parish where they assigned me a different number.
I don't think the parishes have a tax ID number.
Would I put my social then, which is what I operate under, or would I put that state assigned number on the parish?
They ask for the state tax ID if you have one.
Okay.
They prefer that.
Now, if you have a federal tax ID number, is that the same? Okay. All right.
That's really free.
That's what gets confusing between all the institutions.
I know.
Getting it right, you don't want to get it wrong
And
and
you
get in trouble.
know, most of the people that are in this room are here because they want to do it the right way. They are trying to comply. Most every phone call I get, it's because somebody said, I have no idea what to do. it is confusing, and as we all know, the people at this table, you're the creative people. You're the ones who love to visualize and make those things come into reality. And this part of your brain, the part that does this is not the same part that
This
does
stuff is developed by aliens.
Well, see what happened to me last time?
Right. Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say I can avoid all this by selling things on the web.
Yeah?
Well, that's true, that's what briefly, yeah, for now, that's liable to change too, that, yeah, because
More and I'll sell it to
they, the web, whatever the requirements are for the sale in that vicinity are supposed to apply to web sales.
The other thing that happened to me is that package that Liz was showing with the city, the parish, and the state. Okay, so you send the money to the city, the parish, you send the money to the state. And I put Maker's Fair and all, using the forms provided to me last time. A couple months later, I get a quarterly report from the state saying that if I didn't fill that out, that they were going to estimate it and, send me a tax bill, like a big number, make it up. And so I didn't know what to do at that point because I'd already turned in the event papers they gave me at the event, and now I was getting this whole
And you
state.
certainly don't want to double pay.
So I wrote on there and attached copies of all that, and somebody's gonna have to sit there and figure out, I hope I don't get another reply saying I do owe some more money because I've already paid my taxes. So,
We had a similar incident with that where they said, well, you need to do this on your quarterly report.
Right.
But then, the way the craft show cycle goes, is you have long periods where there are no shows.
Right.
Like during hot summer months, there just are no shows. And there's nothing to turn in on a quarterly.
Right. And I get those, and I just put zeros.
You should turn.
You zeros and you sign them. Yeah, you
And
sign
then at least they've gotten something from you.
Right.
They don't think that you
I've
have.
worked in bureaucracy for 25 years. If they ask for paper, give them paper.
if you do not turn it in, they will estimate something and they will.
And they will sue your liable for it, yeah.
Hey, and I'll one up you, if you don't pay that $12 that they're charging you for late fee, they'll freeze your bank account and take it from you. Yeah, if you're in the
We
$20.
have had several vendors complain about having their bank account. One lady, it was broke a little over $3. They froze her account.
How much?
$3, less than $3.
Was that done in that picture?
No, it wasn't.
We heard about it in that case, but it wasn't actually.
But the state has a new revenue collection office for hunting down anybody that does anything in there. But they're just getting started. I guess this is old tactics that they're using.
Oh, they're even, like, I moved, I'm from here, but I moved away for a while. I moved back in 2009. They came after me for paying taxes on years that I didn't even live here. I mean, they just assume you're guilty and you have to prove that you weren't here. I mean, that's how aggressive they
And
are.
they need to hurry up and prove.
Yeah, I had a friend who they froze her bank accounts for that same reason. She didn't give them the evidence in time that she didn't live here, and they froze her account for it.
I think it's pretty apparent that probably none of us like the tax people. I mean, and there's a lot of reasons why we're scared of them, we don't like them. I mean, they take our money, it's hard earned. So I'm sure that we've all got stories that we can tell that would curl or straighten your hair.
Well, it's not scary, it's detailed paperwork.
Right.
I know it's dollars out of my pocket, but I like the comfort and security of knowing I've got a nice tax man. When I start something new, like when I register the business, I start something new. He's gonna do my first year's worth of taxes, and he's gonna show me how the forms go. Now, he knows that I'm gonna do my taxes the next couple of years until the laws change, and here I come back. He's like, okay, put me on the straight and narrow again. And yes, it costs $75, $150. But, sometimes depending on the profits I'm gonna be making, it's worth it. Having someone straighten it out first and let it run.
And the other side of the coin is that the tax administrators are doing saw and brought to our attention. And the best thing to do is to explain to them, have your paperwork. If you get a bill and it's wrong, return it with zeros and a note that says this was I made no sales during this quarter, or this was original art. I did sell $500 worth of original art and did not collect tax because it was exempt. So I think that the art seller has to comply the best they can with the requirements that tax administrators are trying to implement.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think Liz said that the Maker's Fair and the raffle and the farmers market were things. Okay, in the Highland Cultural District, what sorts of events, or can there be an event that somebody says, this is an event, Sue, I think has an event, that, would that count, and can you sell out your house?
I'm going to defer the house question to
Okay,
Gaye.
excuse me because I was taking a picture of these. I felt him over there, twisting him, and I just see the result.
I will answer the other question.
So what, say that again, please. Well, Liz talked about the established events in the downtown district, but I know that there are some events that are less established, I would say, but they're events.
Right, oh yeah.
Like studio tours.
When, in the purpose, in the case of these two cultural districts, nobody has to establish them. If they are happening, it's sort of like you said, if they're happening within the boundaries of the district, they qualify based on the definition of art, then the sale would be taxes. It doesn't have to be something that's.
What about out of someone's house?
Yeah, and if you live in a cultural district and you're an artist and you're selling works, that is your point of sale. It's where the sale occurs. If the sale occurs within a district, it would qualify. So yes.
Which means I live just outside the cultural district. I need to take my stuff and drive over.
Drive across the street?
Boundaries and sell it.
Find a friendly neighbor, that lives within the district, and just do it in their yard.
This is one of those, wrong side of the coin situations. The purpose of the original purpose of the cultural district, the fact that there is a boundary defined, was so that we didn't say everything in the state of Louisiana qualifies. And it was because we're targeting, this is really a community revitalization program. It's a tool. It's just like any incentive or economic development incentive. It is something special that is given for that particular place. And the hope is that the galleries, the art markets will cluster in those districts, and that it will help create an identity and a dynamic and an economic commerce kind of positive thing going on in that area. And and it's unfortunate that there are just as talented and qualified products that are being sold down the street. In Baton Rouge, there was real concern when the second district that they tried to approve, Taylor Clark Gallery people. It's an old, established, been there for since God in Baton Rouge, and it handles a lot of beautiful high-end art, framing and that kind of thing. Well, it wasn't a cultural district, and the city council people said, well, how can we have a cultural district without Taylor Clark? You don't have to do it. You can make them be in it if you wanted. People are in charge of where the boundary goes. So it is specific to, it is a place-based incentive that is specific to what happens in that area. And unfortunately, the people who are not in that area, it is an unintended consequence that it can become an economic disadvantage for an artist that's not in a district.
They can easily sell in that district.
We heard that houses were, that you couldn't sell in your house. So that's.
If that is where your business is, if that is where you reside, and most artists, like you were talking about, you file your taxes and everything on your social security number. You're like a sole proprietor.
I think there's an issue here. I think you have to have a certificate of occupancy at your house. Does it have to be a house-based business?
I'm not sure I mean, like, if you are, do you have an occupational license to sell or to do business? To sell?
I'm not in the district, I'm asking in general.
In general, yeah. That is.
I'm in the district.
Anyone who is conducting business in a parish in Louisiana is supposed to secure an occupational license to do business. And you can do that out of your home or out of a store or.
Yeah, you can, and they're very easy.
It's just whatever your address is.
Where? The city?
The city.
Where actually?
It's out here.
Well, where,
Or out in Florida.
where in all this can you declare all
I can
this
send all this
fits
information
into that stuff? Say you've got entrance fees.
And now, we never talk about income. That would be an income tax deduction.
Wouldn't that all go, set it all together?
It's different. This is sales, we are really only talking about sales tax. What you collect when you make the sale from a customer and what you pay to the city and state. And if you are selling this, you do not have to charge tax for it. If you were not in a cultural district, you would.
To be legal.
To be
I mean,
legal.
Right.
if you're,
And if you are selling this in non-cultural district, you will charge sales tax and report that sales tax to the parish and state. I think what you're talking about is the cost of doing business.
All the expense that goes into going to a show.
And that has nothing to do with the sales tax that you're required to charge or not charge. That's more an income tax if you have a home business or if you have expenses related to it.
But it does, because the cultural district, just the area and the attitude behind the cultural district and the name of being a cultural district is why I would probably put my business in our Jones and Barton building, in one of our spare offices, and that's, because everything I have is shipped through there anyway, just because I actually live there.
so why not take advantage of the tax benefit of being in a cultural district?
And
And there's a lot of work that goes into setting up a cultural district. And that's why everybody's not working. It is a tremendous amount of work that goes into doing the inventory of buildings, of businesses, of artists. So, it's a real undertaking. Like I told you, we do the report every year, so it's really.
And maybe while we're, when we're establishing that common area and cultural districts, if there were, and this is a big developer, or somebody who had a place like, one of these old hotels or something, and they had access to lease spaces towards artists to put their businesses based in the area, to increase your activity. And so hopefully we'll get some of those, so people outside the district have a low expense way to participate in the district.
And that is definitely some of the things that you're talking about, actually, would be great.
For sales tax purposes, I live in Ohio. So my understanding is I have a choice of providing trash as a place of occupation, or I can do a voter license or a street pole license.
See, we're not tax specialists, so we don't know. We have to check.
I'm trying to play one against the other.
But we said.
We did mention whatever you don't have established yet, but it's in the cultural districts, so the vending and the dancing markets will be covered.
Basically, anything, any event in the cultural districts, we just are going to treat them as if they could be sales taxes.
My question, getting out around here, what are exactly the cultural districts?
The cultural district downtown, and those maps are on the website of the state, and we'll also put them on, I think they're on our UVA website, but I think they might be hidden. But, cultural recreation and tourism, if you Google Louisiana Cultural District,
That you'll get a map like this. It's kind of cryptic, but it is a map of what the boundaries are. And then
but it's all downtown, all Shreveport Common, and then Highland is pretty much a big square square that takes in everything you would consider to be Highland Fairfield. So those are our two North Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana cultural districts. I think there's one in Rust and one in Natchitoches.
Yeah. Minden does it.
So when the tax people come to your booth and you're vending, and you say, what I'm selling is covered by the cultural district, do you say, here's my paperwork? Do you let them take it out of your hand? Or what are your rights as far as?
You just tell them.
You explain to them that I'm selling original art that's exempt from tax and I'm documenting it.
And you just show them, you don't have to give it to
And
them?
I'll fill out my tax return with zeros on it if you want me to.
You get a title tax number, you just tell them, I've got a title tax number, I fill mine out.
And you know, that is true.
It'd be advantageous to get one of those.
The reason that they are so prevalent in making it, visibility and go to the markets is because most of the sellers there are not registered. They are, and the only way they could get their sales tax is by collecting it on site. So if you, if you are a registered taxpayer, you could simply say that, say I pay monthly, I pay quarterly. Yeah, right.
So does it matter then if it's kosher or cattle?
Yeah, you have to have a title.
I have to have.
You have to have a title if it's in cattle fair, I believe.
Okay, so we'll come back if there are any more tax questions, but I think that there are a lot of questions as well about what is one-of-a-kind art, who is exempt. And this is always open for debate, whether it is or whether it isn't. There are just certain regulations and certain parameters that the state follows. And we can argue with them, but they are what they are. But Gaye is going to talk to us about those, and then we actually have some show and tell that will make it a lot easier to figure out what's what where it comes to jewelry, because jewelry is always a question. Yes.
I think it's really easy. Andrew Warhol said art's whatever an artist says it is.
Yes, thank you.
Well, that was, I told the last group of people that was what I said when they said, okay, now you have to come up with a definition of what qualifies for art. And I went, well, wait, I thought that was in the eye of the beholder.
So the legislature has to have that definition.
Yeah.
And as much as we hate to have to define art, we need that definition.
So the definition that we've adopted is that an item must be original, one-of-a-kind, visual art, conceived and made by the hand of the artist or under his direction and not intended for mass production except for specific limited editions. And the limited editions really are still they need to be it needs to be a handmade process with the exception of photography, which are just printed. But limited editions, lithographs, silk screen, intaglio, etchings, and graphic design that are handmade. So you can have reproductions only of handmade limited editions of up to 100. And that is an arbitrary number. The director of our agency decided to pick it because we didn't know. We knew that mass production needed to be limited in some way or defined in some way. And so she said, rather than going on the low end or the very high end, she just picked 100 editions.
100 questions?
Hundreds of reproduction.
Okay, people want that per year or something.
No, of that particular item. Like if you do a photograph and you're doing and if you want to make 250 of them, you have to charge sales tax on all of them. It's not just the first 100, but all of them, because it's considered a mass produced edition.
Can it be?
Rather than limited to 100.
I do comics as well as this paintings. Let's say I made a short run of 100 comics. Would they, since they are sort of mechanically reproduced?
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. It's the process. reproductions of original art are not
Got it.
qualified.
Okay.
And the reason, like giclées and posters, anything that is printed from an inkjet printer or offset print process,
Right.
it's considered a manufactured process and mass produced.
So I'd have to just read for the entire
Yes.
20 pages out into the
What if he signs his comic book and says, I'm selling you my signature because this is my original art?
It's the process of the art is not qualified, his signature is not qualified.
If he draws a character and signs it
The
as
same, that's kind of the same as hand embellished giclées, and all my art experts say hand embellished giclées are still reproductions of the original work. The original work they can sell tax exempt, but the reproductions they cannot. They're not. They just don't qualify. They're still beautiful. They're still art, but they don't qualify for tax exemption under this definition because it's a man.
Thanks, Amy.
Well, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
you know, you sell them, I'm selling you this character.
Right.
And I'm signing that it's original.
Yeah.
How about if the comic book is lanyard and you are selling him this piece of paper with this drawing, that's what you're selling, and you say, oh, by the way, since you bought that for $25, here's the comic book as lanyard. That qualifies because what you're actually selling is an original drawing right there. And you're throwing in your comic book as a lanyard.
I'm sure there are a lot of ways that you could skirt or,
Yeah.
Wow.
but I think that what we want to do is to try to take this definition in good faith and, and try to implement it the best way that we can, the way it's written.
Louisiana does have lanyard, so that's why.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't Louisiana.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are probably many creative ways to skirt.
Well, and I mean, it
All
just
kinds
did
of
eliminate
laws.
one of my processes. Because if I do the next prints from I have the original paintings, I make prints of the original paintings, because once the originals are done, they're gone.
Yeah.
And I paint over that, and I paint the images and turn those prints into art. It's on a print, I've embellished a print.
I'm not sure, I'm not following what the process is.
Yeah, what is the process?
If I take the original painting, which is on the watercolor paper, and I take it to the state, so I take it to somebody and I have them print me images of that.
Digital.
And then I go through and I paint those. I have embellished the print.
That's a lot like a giclée, and
And even though I'm creating the art from the image, I'm still creating it on a print. So just for the sake of not having hassle, I would
Right.
skip those.
yeah, and this is the thing too. Part of the benefit of this process, of this program, and what we really hope is the benefit, is that the artists increase their market, increase their ability to sell more stuff, because we want our artists to thrive, we want them to be successful. And we want those prints, we want that watercolor to be so beautiful and so well liked that you can make note cards of it and other things and sell other products too that you couldn't take the time to do over and over and over again. So the original gets that tax exemption, but all those offshoot products that come from it, you just charge sales tax, but you still, have a new product that you're making and that you're generating income from. We hope.
The only question I had is about the antique part, about people who paint furniture or paint tables. I mean, some of them can be just from putting a new coat on to someone doing hand. But it says when it gets down to decorative arts. I mean, is it physically altering the wood or altering the item, or can it just be repainted?
Hand painting on, there's another argument altogether. What's the difference if I'm painting on wood or painting on canvas? If the item is a desk or a chair or a table, and I'm still creating an original design on it, why can't that be my canvas? Just be like an original painting. And so in most cases, I think those, it would probably be a good idea to take some pictures of the kind of work. I mean, because if it's, like I used to stencil, and you said you do calligraphy. I do calligraphy too. I don't consider my calligraphy art, but I have seen calligraphy that is art, where someone does the work and it's the calligraphy itself becomes an image or a work of art. I just write really good. I write really nice, and people ask me to do, invitations and stuff like that, but I don't do layout work. I wouldn't consider myself the right market for someone to do like a framed piece that's.
You don't do the illumination.
The illumination. I don't do the illumination. And
But do you consider yourself an artist though?
No.
You're not a practicing artist.
No,
So that's, I think that's.
I'm a very crafty person.
I think though, to answer your
Because I'm
question,
thinking of 3 or 4 makers that do that and sell that, so that's the only
And I
question.
think that sometimes what they have done on a piece of wood would be considered original art. Typically, furniture does not qualify because most of it is made, even old furniture that was handmade, it was mass produced. That's the shaker furniture and everything. That was what they did, how they mass produced. That's how they made furniture, was through handmade processes. And so, because it's the same pattern over and over again, what we're looking for in art, furniture that is art, is original designs of people who work in Cyprus and they turn a piece of wood into something different. People who make bowls and woodworking items like that, those would qualify. But typically, furniture is more pattern-based and considered mass-produced.
but if there's questions, you can send pictures to her ahead of time and
I
she'll.
was just looking for yes or no.
Yeah, it's not that
It's
it's the jewelry and the furniture are just hard. They're just hard.
You want to talk about jewelry?
We can talk about jewelry.
Okay, Susan Fortenberry has brought some of her collection.
And what we said, because there were so many questions about jewelry, so we went back to those artsy people and said, okay, if jewelry is made of handmade beads or the setting, the bezel, the original design is one of a kind and not intended for mass production, it would qualify. If you hand string beads that are manufactured with trinkets or other items added to it, those are not considered original art. They're pretty, we like them, but unless they are hand designed and handcrafted, yeah. So how did you make?
I didn't make them.
You didn't make them?
No, but they're just strong beads.
Right. That's just something that came from the library.
Yeah.
No, it was made by an artist.
See, this person cut out this rope, or whatever it is, and now I don't know if the bead, if they beaded this
Yeah.
little trinket.
Yeah,
that's on there.
that's a special kind of stitch.
Yes.
Tailor stitch.
See, I would say that this would qualify.
I think so.
Okay, but those aren't handmade beads.
No, oh, I know
She
that.
does glass beads as well. She makes her own glass
she
beads.
makes
It's a
her
different
glass-
kind of thing.
Yeah,
I
that.
know those qualify.
I would think this would too, because of the name, the fact that she has created this medallion or this drop, this wrap that goes on this bead. Complicated and just has design elements in it that would qualify.
Yeah.
And that's one of the examples that I use is that like a Native American handmade beading, that is of an intricate enough nature and there is a design element in it that it's different than stringing beads together.
But see, at first you said it came from Hobby Lobby. So
No, I
that's why I'm asking.
brushes and paint from Hobby Lobby.
Liz.
What is
Yeah,
the
thank you.
difference? You don't make that.
Those are your tools.
I don't-
Yes, your beads are your tools to create your art. So what's the difference? I mean, I would like to know, I would like a list of your experts. Because I have problems with your experts. In the professional art world, you know who the jurors are. I need to know who the jurors are.
And a lot of it is the process. Like, okay, on this bracelet that she's got, it looks to me like this is hand blown.
Actually, all of the glass is in down.
Yeah, and you,
Hobby Lobby provided for that.
you bought the back, you put those, but you made your beads.
I made all of them. But this one, we made none of them. This was bought at, like, all of it online, and these were bought at Hobby
But you
Lobby.
made the bezel, you made the design. This is, because of the metal work on this would qualify. Because of the glass work on this would qualify. And these are like opposites. She did not make the metal work on this one, she did make the glass and the opposite here.
So this one I made, so this part, no, that's part.
And, you know, because of this, and this is Susan's examples are a lot like this, because there is a dominant element in it that does qualify. We can't make you charge $20 and charge $10 that's tax-free and it's not, we're not, that's not done. If this was like this, it would not qualify because these are strong beads. But because of the original design, the original glass blowing process or whatever, fusion, whatever it is, this would qualify the item. And I think Susan's got examples like that as well. This probably would not, unless you made the glass.
But it comes from the same, it's the same material.
But all you did was put a hook on it.
No, we put all the things together. This is on silver, sterling silver. He actually strung it on silver and made a clasp himself. But this is a set. So that's how the set is attached, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where, when you get it at your table and someone buys a set of earrings to go with it, that, you know, then I have 15 sets of papers, and I'm going, I'm trying to sell steps on this, I'm trying to sell steps on this.
Yeah.
And I'm taking 15 minutes with one customer, and then I have to explain it to you.
Well, you would have to know from the process what does and what doesn't. Yeah, and that, I know, and I'm trying to tell you that,
But I mean,
yes, no.
I know.
I mean, this one.
But they go together as a set, so what do you do?
So if you sell them as a set, you just don't charge tax.
Those are regular set.
What's the difference?
Okay, one original piece of glass, one original piece of glass.
Well, and there are how many? 694 sales tax exemptions in Louisiana or something like that. And this is the only one that I'm claim any knowledge of. So,
And that's the
so
question on site. Go ahead.
Are you ready?
yeah. So,
All right, so this is my examples. This would qualify to be sales tax exempt because I'm actually focal point here. I have a process where I use glass and sheet metal on postage stamps and things. This is actually a digitally enhanced picture that I work with. Even though these are cool beads, they're actually strung, and but they don't disqualify because it has a focal that I did all this work on. It qualifies. However, yeah. This, you would not know if it qualified unless you knew the process. This is a semi-precious gemstone, but I did not hand carve this little guy myself. I strung the beads, but I didn't make the focal. This would not qualify, but I have friends who do this kind of work, and if they had done it, it would qualify.
If you knew the artist who did it, and you acquired it from that artist, then it would qualify?
No, if they sold it, it would qualify. This is just blown glass strung on a cord. I did not blow the glass, it does not qualify. I have friends who blow glass, if they made this would qualify because they would have made the focal point. This, again, is another example. I did all the little intricate work at the bottom with the sheet metal and glass and everything. I didn't hand make any of this, although I could have made the metal, it's not worth my time. But it would qualify because all in all, it's got the focal point that I did all this work on. This would not qualify because I did not hand carve these agate beads at the bottom. I just, essentially in their eyes, I strung them. But had I been one of the people that does that kind of agate work, then that would have qualified. This does not qualify because I didn't hand make this. This is ancient Chinese pottery. I did not set it in the metal. Had I set it in the metal, this would have qualified. I have bought the wet saw and some of the tools to start doing these myself, and when I do it myself, then this will qualify, but right now, this doesn't, even though it's similar to some other stuff that does. This is a shell at the bottom of this one, and I did not apply this fiber to it. I happened to find a vendor who sold it to me like that. This does not qualify. Had I applied, the art on it, though, it would have qualified. This is just like the bracelet I'm wearing. It's essentially what they're going to call strung beads. I didn't make the little silver beads. Semi-precious gemstones, it's just strung. I have to charge tax on it. This metal work here, silver and bronze, I fired it in a kiln, and so it's going to qualify. I'm going to drill holes in it and do all kind of cool stuff with it. That's the direction I'm heading. Right now, half my stuff, when I started out, all of it was taxable. Right now, I'm 50-50. When I'm done with it, one day I'm going to be pretty much all tax-free. That's my goal. So if anybody has any questions about this bronze casting, it's called PMC, and we have classes over at the Gem and Mineral Society, and I've got admission, discount on admission to the upcoming gem show. It's not this weekend, but the next, and we can get you in classes and you can learn how to do it.
Hold up one of those things again. I should. No, not that. What are the skeletons?
Now, when some of the tax folks come around, do they, I don't know, any of you who have been questioned by them at the maker fair or whatever, do they get on you about, well, how do I know you really made this thing?
They don't even do the paperwork. They just hand you an envelope and say pay.
Okay.
And they really, they don't want, they know that, some of them, I shouldn't say that, some of them are Nazis. And they do want to determine what does and what doesn't qualify. But we were assured that the people here, they don't want that job. They want to be able to go up to someone, trust them that that is in fact handmade. I've said it is. I'm telling you now, and I don't have to pay tax on it. So, and they're good with that.
The other Howell said, she said, we're not artists. We don't pretend to be artists. We don't know what's handmade and what's not. That's not our job. We're just out there to collect the tax.
But they should at least have the paperwork and the knowledge enough to say,
correct.
Do you think your stuff qualifies and give you the paperwork? They never even have the paperwork.
Well, and they have copies of this. They say they distribute the.
They said that they give it to all of the program managers of all the different events, but I bet they will now.
And that's the challenge is that we're here to filter this information because especially with unseen, as people say you can start making stuff and selling it to get that information in a generation and generation and generation. That'll be the difficulty. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I did handmade rosaries, no two of them are the same. The beads, I do purchase, but every rosary is designed separately. I even make my own pins that connect the beads to wire the stainless steel pins. Those I manufacture myself.
Until you said that, I was going to say there's really no difference between stringing rosary beads and a necklace bead or a bracelet bead, and that if you're using manufactured beads, that it probably wouldn't qualify. Although, if there is, and that's the question you were starting to ask when Susan was talking, and I asked him to hold off. He said, there's some percentage of original design or original or handmade parts of it that does or does not qualify. And all of the ones that Susan held up, because she's fabricating part of the item and creating that focal point, we're saying that it qualifies, and we're not going to disqualify the part of it that doesn't, or that is manufactured beads. But I can't tell from what you're saying about the connection.
The eye-pins, I saw this silver row.
Is it like like what would be the metal on a traditional rosary?
Right. I manufacture all of those myself, and I determine, like my,
And there's
our
a
father.
decade, they're in decades?
They're in decades. The our father beads are always
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and
But you make the rosary part, right?
yes.
Well, see, this is a rosary that would not qualify that I make, it's all strong, I didn't make any
But
of
if
it
you
myself.
made that part.
When you
then
made
it
the
would count.
rosary part, that's the focal, I would say it would qualify.
I would
Oh, okay.
very much like her maker her others.
Okay.
Make the focals.
Make it focus, that's good advice, I like that.
Are there any other questions? We appreciate you guys coming and being here. I know that we're not the
I just have another sales tax question.
Sure.
We'll come back to that.
Sure.
As a show chairman, I do the quarterly show now, like I said, I have a lot of trouble getting those sales tax forms from the state. The ones that used to be the red box, and now they're in the black box.
They're online, and they're online, they're on the social
Who's
district website.
responsible, am I supposed to spend my money?
I thought they did not take those up anymore with the state. You're required to have state income tax ID number to do what you said.
That's, I don't know if you can help me with this question or not, but every time before a show, and I do a show twice a year, I spend days putting my packets together, and the local people, my local dairy reporter and that, is wonderful, I get their stuff fine. I get nothing from the state to turn in, to give to my people. Some of my vendors are new.
Just tell them to go online and print it out.
Yeah, they are online. And I have a copy of the state sales tax report. I think I had it out
The
there.
information I got.
Put it somewhere.
I had to have state tax ID number now. They would not even be.
Yeah, they give me the form to apply for a number, but
But this is what you're talking about?
that's the one I'm talking about, yes.
This is available online, and I need a piece of paper to give you to send
They
it.
probably said they were required to have it, or they couldn't.
But I don't think you can give that blanket form to the new vendors, like you're saying, they need to apply for a number first.
This is for.
Yeah, I didn't think about the number. You know, they'll give me that. And the Natchitoches people gave me,
It's
just
hard.
out of courtesy, they gave me a little slip that they generated, okay? That I sold this much at the Fleur de Lis show. So me, okay? I submitted my little form to the state. Of course, I was in a cultural district and I was tax exempt. I wrote all that down. I sent it to the Alexandria people, and they sent it back. Anyway, I think that's why I called you the first time.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I called you before Maker's Fair. And it's just a hassle as a show chairman to get any cooperation from the state.
You know,
Not your
I know
division,
what you're
the
talking
regular
about.
sales
You
tax.
can't, I have one person's email address, and fortunately, she responds to me. And she's not in this division, but she will answer questions for me, and I cannot get a person. When you call a number, you cannot get a person.
Right.
This is online, and I have a link to on the cultural district website. There's a section called forms. So there's a new, I just redesigned, there's a new little paragraph called tax information, sales tax information. And there are links to these, to the instructions for this, to these, the state report and the instructions for the state report, and a link to the Louisiana. I didn't want to put all 64 parishes on the parish forms, but there's a link to the Louisiana Association of Tax Administrators, and they have a map with and you just click which parish you're in, and you can get the tax form for that parish.
So my older vendors, my more experienced vendors, my returning vendors should know what to do. But my new vendors, I've got to generate a little letter to them, go to this, hold their hand, and walk them through it.
Yeah, you do. It is.
They got to do this.
They're supposed to have a state tax ID before they go.
How do they, I mean, they show up to me,
That's
they'll
only
get that
show
electronic version, you can just click on it and it'll go to it. So, I'll have to.
The state is very difficult.
I mean, it's,
You know,
but if they don't have their numbers when they apply with you, then
I
they're
can defend them, I
the
can
office
say
is
you're.
responsible for knowing what they can do.
Sometimes I don't know where it is. I don't think I'm sure you will mind.
Maybe if the application asks for their state ID, if they don't
Any
have
other
one,
questions, or
then
we'll wrap this
they have
puppy
to
up?
transform.
Take cookies with you.
What's your drum?
I mean, with the development.
I'm looking at it.
Before you get there and they're all drunk.
I design them and they're all different colors and they're all hand produced top to bottom. So I think we're good.
How about our
You stretch your skins and everything.
Oh, no, with faces, we're not, say again, skilletry.
Those are very focused design.
How about our t-shirt?
Okay.
We go with collecting t-shirts, so we have to go and select our design for each one. And then we look at it and decide what colors to use, we decide what, right now we have 3 logos, so we're going to check that. And like this one has stuff on the back, so not all of them are back printed, not all of them are shadow printed, it just depends on the underneath colors. And on the screens, they're all.
I would say, because it's gonna come down to the process, because if it is a silk screen, a traditional silk screen where you're printing.
You have state tax
Like that, then that's the handmade process. You've got your design.
See, the letters, you would be saying that,
Yes.
2 or 3 of the same shape.
I would have 100 on
For
this
years,
one,
they've been
because this is the only.
They're not going to take that state tax.
So, I mean, I don't know, it looks like maybe there was a bunch
Well,
of.
see, who takes a look at your
I don't have to take it. But then the shirt can be sent you for.
Now, you were talking about state. I don't think you really answer this question. Well, I mean, it's online, if you were selling
Right, and this is the only canvas, see the shirt? This is Gemini.
It doesn't matter what it is.
It's the design.
With the design, you know, I'm gonna say,
You can have a series of prints on different backgrounds. I've seen silk screens that have done a series of, like 80 pieces on old wallpapers or on, weird pattern background. Yeah, and it's still a number, it's still considered a number series.
like this one, they have inside, that's good.
I think it's the number of impressions, right?
For you to do the taxes. No, but I mean, it's a lot of homework. So they gotta have a number and they can figure probably 5 or 4. If you gotta take that.
Oh, you got it.